Good morning, beautiful people. This is Samson Williams. And today on This Call Is Being Recorded, aka I am checking my emails this fine Sunday morning. We're going to record my response to an email I just got in from Jim Cupples from alltheforms.com. That's Jim Cupples from alltheforms.com. And this episode of This Call Is Being Recorded, which is now just a really cute podcast, is sponsored by the CFPA, which is the Crowdfunding Professionals Association. And Jim Cupples has a question about crowdfunding. And so if you have a question about crowdfunding, you can email me at Samson, SAMSON, at axesandeggs.com. That's axes, AXES, and eggs.com. We'll drop a link down below. So with no further ado, because of course you're tuning in to listen to what is Jim Cupples' questions about crowdfunding. Here's his email. Hi, Samson. We met last year in DC at a blockchain conference for USAID. I have a project that I think is a good fit and was hoping to get some feedback from you on. I have the product in beta right now. It's a free platform for people to find their local farms ranches. By the way, I love local farms ranches. It's free for all participants, farmers, ranchers, and their supporters. And I believe there are several paths to monetizing the data from users' behaviors, insights, without having to betray their trust or give up their personal information. And now I remember where I met Jim Cupples at, because I went to a USAID conference to give a presentation on blockchain, and I stood up on the table as we were talking about what is money. Continuing his email, he says, you can find the site for all the forms at alltheforms.com, and if you enter an Oregon address, you will see how it works. As I mentioned, it is still in beta. We will be adding a reviews function for those that create an account. The model is really similar to IMBD, Goodreads, or other similar community sites. I believe IMBD is for movies, by the way. If it seems a good fit for crowdfunding and you'd like to talk further, please let me know. Thanks, best, Jim. So Jim is the CEO, co-founder of alltheforms.com. And so now I remember why we were going to wake up this Sunday morning with sleep still fresh in our eyes and talk about this question about crowdfunding, because the question Jim is asking is crowdfunding a good fit? And if we'd like to talk further. And so as I was thinking about this morning, I was like, well, let's hop on and make a quick podcast and a quick recording, because I think one of the most important things to consider for your business, whatever your business happens to be, and this is talking to you, Jim, for alltheforms.com, is crowdfunding right for you? I'm going to say yes. And I'm going to say yes for a pretty basic reason. Actually, three pretty basic reasons. So number one, does alltheforms.com need money? If the answer is yes, then how are you going to get this money? When we say money, we're really talking about startup capital, startup financing, funds to grow it from a beta version into a full-scale version that is monetized. So your business might be in a similar situation. You might be if you are a farmer, you might just need farm equipment to grow, or you might need to buy more acreage. And so you need a loan typically from a bank. So this is why crowdfunding is right for you. And right for you regardless of what type of business that you have. Because if you need capital to grow your business, scale your business, sustain your business, your first option is go to a bank. And banks are going to tell you no. All right, let's not say they're going to tell you no. There is a small 0.00 something percent that the bank will tell you yes. However, the bank is typically against you because they determine your credit worthiness, your credit rating, and how much of a loan you're qualified for based upon their mythical credit scoring magic. So if you can't get money from a bank, then you might want to consider crowdfunding. And I pause here because now we need to define what is crowdfunding. When I say crowdfunding, I'm talking about investment crowdfunding. And so investment crowdfunding is facilitated by the JOBS Act, Jumpstart Our Businesses and Startups Act of 2012, that was signed into law in 2016. I think it was May 16th, 2016. This is part of some of Obama's legislation to spur innovation in small businesses for Main Street. And so if you go to the bank and they tell you no, what are your next options as a business? Whether you're a startup or you've been in existing business for years. Well, then it's like we could do a friends and family round. And friends and family rounds are where you ask your friends and your families, hey, give me money, loan me money. If you loan me $10,000, I'll pay you back at X percentage. Or if you invest in my business, you'll get X percent equity in your business. So, excuse me, I still got a little bit of Sunday morning in me. So when we talk about investment crowdfunding, we're talking about the JOBS Act. We're talking typically about debt crowdfunding, meaning you are asking strangers on the internet for a startup capital. And a debt crowdfunding program works just like getting a loan from a bank, except you've raised that funds from the crowd. So if you raise $100,000 or $1 million from 2,000 investors who invested in your debt offering, you need to pay all these investors back some percentage, some agreed upon percentage. But don't worry, the way the crowdfunding platforms work nowadays, you make one payment and all the investors get paid off automatically. A lot of automation that's been occurring to make debt crowdfunding possible. On the other side of crowdfunding is equity crowdfunding. And we're all pretty familiar with equity crowdfunding because with equity crowdfunding is Shark Tank time. You're going to go out and engage your customers, engage your audience, engage your crowd to say, hey, I'm offering, this is hypothetically, alltheforms.com. We're offering this little slice, this 10% slice of alltheforms.com for $1 million, which gives alltheforms.com a hypothetical valuation of $10 million. But for this 10% slice of alltheforms.com, we're looking to raise $1 million from our investors or from potential crowd members. So that's how equity and debt crowdfunding works. And so when I say crowdfunding, I'm meaning investment crowdfunding, which includes equity, debt, royalty, and a couple other nuances for crowdfunding. But now that we've nailed down what is crowdfunding, we go back to, yes, you should consider it, because I don't care what your business is. If you can't get a loan from the bank, if your friends and family can't fund you, can't get you enough money to get over that monetary valley of death, that startup valley of death, which is typically somewhere between 50 and 250K, then what is your next option? Well, then it's investment crowdfunding, also known as JOBS Act Crowdfunding. And so why this is the case, Jim, if alltheforms.com is looking to scale and looking to grow, and you can't get money from a bank, if your friends and family can't finance you, then yeah, you need to be in thinking about, or at least being aware of investment crowdfunding. This goes for all the businesses out there. And so you can't get a loan from a bank, your friends and family can't finance you. You could maybe find an angel investor, but an angel investor is probably going to want more equity, a larger stake in your business, and you might not want to give them that larger stake. And it's so difficult to find angels because I've been looking for heaven my whole life and have yet to find it. So how much harder is it to find a resident of heaven, aka an angel? Angel investors do exist. However, they might not invest in your business or your business vertical. They might not be in farming. They may only, I know a gentleman who only invests in businesses that involve wills. If your business has a will, he loves it. He came up through, he owns a few taxi cabs, or rather he owned a few taxi cabs, and he invested in a real estate and a bunch of other things. And as a result, if your business has wills, he loves it. He wants to invest, particularly nowadays with coronavirus's impact on shipping and delivery. He loves all those businesses. If it doesn't have wills, his answer is immediately no. And so even if you can find an angel investor, they might not want to invest in your particular business or industry. Then next comes the venture capitalists. And again, venture capitalists can be hard to find, hard to connect with. Your business might not give them the ROI that they're looking for. I don't know if alltheforms.com is going to give them a 10,000x or 100x, because when a VC gives you money, or rather when a VC invests in you, like all investors, the easiest way to think about this is raise money isn't earned. You have to pay it back. So if you go raise $10 million from a venture capitalist, you have to pay them back, not 10 million, but they're looking for 100 million. And they're going to work you to death just like that. And typically within 18 months, most founders find themselves out of their business. It's not to say that individuals in investment crowdfunding under the JOBS Act aren't going to be looking for a return. They are, but as the business founder or business CEO, the issuer of these shares in your JOBS Act crowdfunding campaign, you get to set the rate of return. You get to tell them, okay, here's how much money we're going to do for we're going to get this $1 million, and here's how much we're going to pay you in interest for a debt instrument. Or you're going to say, okay, for this $1 million, here's how much of my business I'm willing to give you, and here's what our projections are. You do have to pay your investors back regardless of what type of investment you receive. But when you invest with VCs, they are called venture capitalists. They're looking for larger returns, and just not all money is good money. So keep that in mind. So the next reason that your business should be considering investment crowdfunding or crowdfunding in general is that if you can't get a bank loan, if you can't raise money through your friends and families, if you can't find any angels, if you can't find any VCs, then who's next? Who's left? And this is a question that many businesses come like, oh, I've gone through all the traditional avenues of raising capital or finding capital. Who's left? Your customers. That's who's left. Your potential customers are left. People in your community who you say, who would be like, oh, alltheforms.com, who could be our potential customers. Those people are left. And so how do you go out and connect with those people? How do you identify that segment of the market who would be your potential customers? Then how do you onboard them? This is why I think that every business needs to consider investment crowdfunding. They need to consider JOBS Act regulated crowdfunding, because your business needs to grow. When you get money from a venture capital firm or you get money from an angel, they represent one, maybe two individuals, or they might represent, particularly VCs, they may have competing businesses that they've invested in, or they might have a small network, but none of them automatically bring you customers. You're still going to spend money on sales. You're still going to spend money on marketing. You're still going to spend money on advertising. You're still going to spend money on branding. And so what does that get you? Does that get you any revenue? Or does that get you potentially in front of a VC or an angel investor who will take, 40 to 60% of your company? I don't know. And this is why everyone should consider investment crowdfunding as a mechanism for funding their business, because as you go to fund your business, as you go to grow and scale your business, we call it triangle financing: sales, branding, and customer loyalty. So if you get a piece of paper right quick and you draw a triangle, on one side put sales, on the other side put branding, at the bottom put customer loyalty. As a business, alltheforms.com, even in beta, you're going to spend tens of thousands of dollars on sales. You're going to spend even more on branding. And so the question is, having invested tens of thousands of dollars in sales and tens of thousands of dollars in branding, how are you creating customer loyalty? This is where investment crowdfunding comes in, where you're giving your customers, your potential customers, your actual customers in your community, the opportunity to invest, to have skin in the game for your business. So someone who goes in angel or VC, they're not your customer. They gave you money. It's an investment. Give them back 10,000x of that money. Whereas your customer, they're your customer. They already like your good product or service so much that they're your customer already. It's sort of self-explanatory. If they buy your widget, if they buy your squash, they're your customer. And now through investment crowdfunding, through JOBS Act crowdfunding, you can say, hey, do you want to invest in this business that you already love so much that you're a customer? And that's the reason, Jim, that alltheforms.com should consider investment crowdfunding, JOBS Act crowdfunding. There are other types of crowdfunding. There's donations, there's rewards, but we're focused on investment crowdfunding because you want your customers and your potential customers to feel that they really have skin in the game, that they really have a reason to be your biggest advocate and champion. And this boils down to that final question that I'll ask everyone out there who's considering, hey, is crowdfunding right for me? The real question is, what has a greater lifetime value? A VC who invests $10 million in your business, are 2,000 customers who each invest $500. That's a really good question, because the VC is going to give you $10 million, and you're going to spend 60 to 40% of that $10 million acquiring customers. So you're going to spend about $4 to $6 million acquiring customers, versus you've engaged 2,000 of your existing customers. They've each invested $500 to raise your $1 million under Reg CF. Now, who has a greater lifetime value? Because VCs, they might not actually use your good product or service, but customers by default use your good product or service. And of course, Jim's going to be like, and you might be thinking, how does this apply to me? Because I'm trying to get customers. And this is where the idea of being an entrepreneur really kicks in, because you've got to develop your MVP, your minimal viable product, whatever that good service or product is that gets people onto your site, that creates revenue. Revenue is the best capital in the world, hands down. Revenue is amazing. It solves so many problems in the startup world and in business life. You got to absolutely have some type of product, because if you're just trying to raise money for an idea, then, well, we're going to have a really long conversation on another podcast about, is that the best course of action, raising money for an idea? Because at the end of the day, just to wrap this up, here on this call that's being recorded, or in this instance, this email is being read aloud, is you're going to have to go to someone, whether it's a bank, whether it's a VC, or whether it's your customers, to look for funding. And so JOBS Act Investment Crowdfunding, it just gives you an opportunity to, if the bank turns you down, if you don't have that accredited network of high wealth individuals, to potentially engage your customers to grow and scale your business. So Jim, that's it for the moment. Hopefully you enjoy this video and or this podcast if you're listening to it or watching it on streaming services. Again, it's still Sunday morning. My coffee hasn't kicked in, but I hope you've enjoyed this call is being recorded conversation. If you have a question for me, give me a phone call. I'll drop the phone number down below. Send me an email, samson@accessandeggs.com, and I'll respond to your email or your phone call in a similar fashion. In the meantime, if you want to learn more about investment crowdfunding, JOBS Act regulated crowdfunding, visit the CFPA.org. That's the Crowdfunding Professionals Association.com for more information on JOBS Act equity and debt crowdfunding. If you are a startup or a business and you're saying, oh, I should probably do this investment crowdfunding thing, you can go to cfpa.org, check out our ecosystem. There are about a couple of dozen of SMEs and professionals that you can book time with there, so they can help walk you through further your unique business case and determine, okay, now that I'm aware that investment crowdfunding exists, is this the best bet for me? Is this the best option for me? Because those are the nitty gritty details where you need an expert to walk you through. And finally, if you're on the investment side of things, check out crowdwise.org. Brian Bealey, that's Belley from crowdwise.org. He walks through investors to determining, do you want to invest in these crowdfund deals? Are they a good investment for you, or could they potentially be a good investment for you? So that's it. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. My name is Samson Williams, and thanks for listening to this call as being recorded. I will see you in the next orbit. Peace out.